I've had an excellent question come in from Charlie, who asks a brilliant question. He says, now you might have been following this story. You might not, because I know you're busy. But Jeffrey Epstein is a famous billionaire who died in custody in New York a couple of weeks ago. And he's believed to have been a paedophile. And he's also believed, Epstein, to have supplied children for very, very famous people, politicians, and even royal family members. Some people believe that Epstein was working for intelligence agencies to blackmail famous people. Anyway, Epstein died, and Charlie says, Jordan loves numerology. What does Jordan think about the fact that Jeffrey Epstein was 66 years old and he was killed on the 6th day of the month? What do you think, Jordan? Is it significant, or could it be significant?
I suppose it could be significant, but I do believe, my feeling, I don't look at politics very much, but I do believe that Jeffrey Epstein was working for a very, very powerful secret society in this world as a operative for an intelligence organization which wants to control all the leaders of the world, all the leaders. And the best way to do that is to put them in a compromising situation, provide them with children, provide them with sex, provide them with money, provide them with anything they want, and photocopy them and photo them and put them on tape and on film when they don't know they're being filmed. Now you've got them. Now you can control them. And I think that's what he was doing, was getting a very famous people in the world that were very important to the world movement of commerce and war and munitions, etc., getting national leaders involved in pedophilia and all kinds of dark stuff, and photocopying them and photographing them and putting them on film and tape so that they could be controlled by some very, very dark secret society of powerful people in the world who want to control the whole earth. And the best way to do that is just have on film national leaders. That would be horrible if it came out in the press. If you saw national leaders doing things with children you would not believe. And so that's the way I think Epstein was being used. I think he was being used as an operative for an international intelligence agency to bring people in, get them to come in, big shots and all the big billionaires and the heads of the government and the heads of military and the religious orders, get all the big shots in the world involved in all the dirtiest, filthiest stuff they can find, and eventually you'll control them all. And I think that's who he was. And that's why when he went to prison, it's just my opinion, but when he went to prison, they were supposed to watch him on a suicide watch, and he all of a sudden ends up dead. It's because somebody either bought him out and got him out and took him back somewhere to protect him. Somebody got him out of prison. If you're that powerful with that kind of money and that kind of political power, you could get anybody out of prison. The Rothschilds and the Rockefellers can get anybody out of prison any day they want because the prisons were built by them. And so I think that Epstein was quietly taken out and flown and got out and went someplace else to be protected. Why? Because he knows too much. And he knows too much, and if he ever put the pressure on him, he might break and start telling everybody in the world what was really going on behind the world scene. And so that could not happen. They had to get him out of prison, or they have to kill him in prison. It don't matter. They got to get rid of him, get him out one way or the other, either kill him or get him out. That's what happened. As far as I'm concerned, I saw it when it first happened. When I first heard that he had died, I thought, yeah, of course. If you know too much and you're in the middle of some really off-the-wall political stuff that's going on in the real world, Yeah, and you mess up and you get found out, and now they're making a big public show of you. You can imagine some of the most powerful people in the world got together on a telephone and said, "You got to do something about him. Get him out of there. Get him out of prison."
One way or another.
One way or the other.
Before we talk about what, I find fascinating, the idea that non-human entities are manipulating events on planet Earth. Let's stay with the Rockefeller Rothschild thing for a minute, because there are people who will listen to programs like this, and I always say this in the interest of fairness and balance, and they will say, why do we get so hung up about certain families and the influence of certain families? Surely the Rockefeller family and the DuPont family and the Rothschild family are no more influential than the royal family, the Windsors, or other wealthy banking families. Why do the same names keep coming up? Because some people will listen. I know some Jewish listeners might listen and say, they're bashing the Jews again by mentioning Rothschild. What do you think?
Well, these are the names that we are given by the press, by the media. These are the names that were made to be famous among we humans on the earth. Everywhere you go in the world, you have television and movies and newsreels, and they're always talking about the wealthy people who run the planet. Well, today we all know that. Most people are smart enough to know that it's called the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules. And so the idea being is that there are very powerful families who have been raping the world for thousands of years. And they're very wealthy. They've been doing it, and they're professional, and they know exactly how to do it because they've been doing it all through the Middle Ages. And before the Middle Ages, they were doing it in the Roman Empire. Before Rome, they were doing it in the Grecian Empire. There are just people who are very wealthy families who've been around for 1,000 years running everything. And they are the same people who are running the world today. But I believe that there is an extraterrestrial connection to these families. There's no doubt in my mind about that. I think that they are being led themselves to do what they do for another civilization that's out there. And that goes along with what Christians call the demons and devils.
Can I jump in? Can I jump in there? This is really important. Jordan Maxwell is our guest. Jordan Maxwell's show. Let me just endorse that, because I've never felt that these ruling families, who intermarried, of course, through the centuries, and whom, for them, their bloodline was very important. And, we talked over the years, you and I, about the blue-bloodedness and all this stuff and what it really means. The royal families and the wealthy families with the gold and with the property and with the wealth, the industrialists, they always intermarried. And I believe it was to protect their wealth and to double down on it and expand it and to extend their control. I personally believe that religion has got nothing to do with that. I believe that certain groups in the world today who want to prevent us from understanding this, they make it a racial issue. And they call people racist for talking about that, and they call them anti-Semitic for talking about that, when I don't believe that the religion has got anything to do with it. But I believe you're right when you name these families. We could name them Oppenheimer, Warburg, Rothschild, Rockefeller. I mentioned DuPont. We could talk about the royal families. I think you're bang on. Now, Jordan Maxwell Show, jordanmaxwellshow.com is the website. This is the fascinating thing. I'm going to ask you this question, and I'm going to shut the hell up and let you answer it. You think, and I know this is from 6 decades of research, and I know some other learned women and men and women share your philosophy. They believe this, that a lot of the bad stuff that happens on planet Earth, the really terrible stuff, the wars, the mass murder, the destruction of countries, the trafficking of children, they believe that there's some non-human element to this, working to create this chaos and these horrible things. Now, some of my listeners will say, and they have said, Jordan Maxwell and Jim Mars and David Icke and Zechariah Sitchin, these are very smart men. But aren't they giving a pass to the people who do these horrible deeds on planet Earth by suggesting that they are being manipulated by something non-human? That gives them a pass. Surely they have free will, and that they make the decision to destroy countries, to rape children, to force people to take medication, all the terrible things. Why does Jordan and all these other great researchers, why do they think that there's some manipulating non-human force? Go ahead, my friend.
It's because all of the holy writings of the entire world, going back to India, to Africa, to Egypt, to the ancient Greeks, the ancient Romans, and to the Hindu, all the ancient prophecies and the ancient writings of the world talk about the extraterrestrial gods, the star child, the star brothers, the extraterrestrial angels, the demons, the devils. And in all the ancient scriptures of the world, they talk about the presence on the earth of extraterrestrial life forms that's in every religion and every philosophy in the world. I feel there must be something to that if everybody on the earth before us, because we got so smart today, we can't even find our way out of a paper bag. That's how smart we are. But we say that's all a bunch of bull. Well, I'm saying you better go back and wake up and do some research and find out that there's a lot of stuff going on this earth that you would not believe. I like the one astronomer, I remember him saying that the universe is not stranger than you imagine. It's stranger than you could imagine. There are things going on out there in space that you have never heard, know nothing about, and it will blow your mind if you want to see it and understand it. But happily, you don't have to, because you know everything there is to know about everything in the whole world, and therefore people, we have the problem of what is called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance means you are one of the most brilliant humans that God has ever allowed on the earth. And therefore, if you've never heard something Jordan Maxwell's talking about, then it must be stupid. It must be ignorant, because you are the smartest person on the earth and you've never heard anything about it. So it must be crazy. And so it's called cognitive dissonance.
I agree.
Myself, I learned a long time ago to be humble, to just shut your mouth and don't comment on things you don't understand, because you're going to look like a fool one day when you wake up and find out all the things you've been preaching against were true, and you were just so ignorant and ill-informed you didn't know. And now you're going to look like a fool because you were calling everybody else stupid.
Was that a program, Jordan? Do you think that was a designed program to introduce that to humanity? Because it is, when you think about it deeply, it is a foolish way to be, and it's almost anti-human way to be. You hear something from somebody, it sounds a bit different, you don't know anything about it, but the first thing you do is to criticize it, call it stupid, and throw it away and pay no attention to it. That must have been a program. Somebody must, or something must have thought of that. Let's introduce this to the DNA of the humans. What do you think?
I think so. I think that's exactly what happened.
Powerful, right?
That there is a philosophy on the earth that says if you haven't heard anything, if you haven't heard something, it must be full of bull, because you are the smartest thing that's ever walked the earth. There's nothing on the earth wiser and smarter and more experienced than you are. And if you haven't heard it, that means it must be a bunch of bull. I, on the other hand, respect other people and respect people who are highly intelligent. And when they show me something and can prove it to me, I begin to question in my mind, wait a minute, there may be something to this. That's what you call a scientific mind that analyzes. People say I'm a conspiracy theorist. No, I'm a conspiracy analyst. I like to analyze what's going on in front of you, in front of your eyes. I'd like to analyze where it came from and who's doing it. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm an analyst. You used to look to people like that to be your reporters in the newspaper. But today there are no reporters, very few reporters. Why? Because they end up in jail if they tell you the real truth.
We've had a lovely message from just outside Delhi in India, from a lovely woman called Himanshi Munjal. And Himanshi is somebody I've known for a few years through the program. She's listening in India, and she says she totally agrees with you. The fact that extraterrestrial beings are mentioned in every mythology is true.